What's up, guys? Welcome to the Johncast. Today we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder and their trade with Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, and why this is going to go down as the worst trade in NBA history. So last week, the Thunder traded Russell Westbrook for Chris Paul and 2 first-round picks. And this kind of took the NBA world by storm. I don't think anyone was really ready for that. I did not actually think that was going to happen. I know there was rumors about that reunion with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, but I said on my Instagram, on my Twitter, this will not work. That is a quote. This will not work. And I still believe that this might be one of the worst moves that the Rockets could have done. Like, if there was any player that I said the Rockets should not bring in, that the Rockets should just completely eliminate from their minds just because it wouldn't work at all, it would be Russell Westbrook to join with James Harden. But before we, get into that depth with Houston, I want to start with OKC. This kind of all started when Paul George requested a trade to leave the Thunder to go play with Kawhi on the Clippers. And that was, we kind of didn't expect that at all. We did not think Paul George was going to leave. He wasn't on anyone's radar, but he left and he requested a trade. And now, that's a good amount of players that have left Westbrook, and I think for a good reason. Even after Paul George said he would stay, he requested a trade. So the Thunder decided, we don't have Paul George anymore. We have Westbrook and a bunch of accessory pieces. I think it's time to move on. And I want to applaud the Oklahoma City Thunder for making that move. That is the good move. That is the right move. Move on. There's a thing that I always say, that the only thing worse than being a bad team is being a mediocre team. And that's what the Thunder were. With just Westbrook, they were definitely going to be a mediocre team. They weren't going to be the worst in the league because Westbrook is good enough to carry them a little bit, and they easily were not going to be a great team in the league. So you made the right decision to move on. And they were actually able to acquire Chris Paul in this trade. It's been said that they actually don't want to see him play a single game as a part of the Thunder. Then later came out, maybe they'd be open to keeping him. I'm telling you right now, do not keep him. It's not going to do anything for your team. It'll make you just a slightly worse, mediocre team. What you need to do is actually just be bad. Some teams have trouble being bad for so long. But it's something that you need to embrace, because you're only going to get good again once you're bad, especially in one of those small markets where you're not attracting big free agents. Sometimes even in big markets. I know for a fact the New York Knicks have so much trouble just staying bad. Every year they say, we're just going to build through the draft. That's what we're going to do. That's the direction we're headed. Then the summer comes. We're getting LeBron. We're getting Kevin Durant. We're getting Kyrie Irving. And it never works out. And we've never been able to embrace being bad. And that's the reason we haven't fully grown as a team. That's the reason we're so choppy as a team. And what the Thunder need to do is embrace being bad for the next 5 to 10 years. And you'll be back in the top. So don't worry about it. Thunder fans, you're going on a small break. It's going to be okay. What you need to do, buy out Chris Paul, trade Chris Paul, whatever you need to do, and get rid of him and just build these young pieces. Let them develop their games. The best way to let them develop is to let them play, not to let the leadership of Chris Paul, try and bring them to something that they're not, or not to let Chris Paul kind of change the dynamic of that room. He can cause some problems, as it's been shown. And so you really just need to let the Thunder young players do what they do. Raise them up and see what they can accomplish, what players turn out to be surprises, what players turn out to be hidden gems, diamonds in the rough, and go from there. That's what you need to do. And then maybe when those players have proven themselves, you can land somebody. If not, build through the draft, and that's fine. So with Chris Paul probably not staying in the Thunder, the question is out there, where actually should he play? And to be honest, the team that I have heard about the most that I actually think could work is the Los Angeles Lakers. If he ends up getting bought out and he gets all that $110 million that he's owed, and he can pretty much sign wherever he wants, I think being the point guard on the Los Angeles Lakers could really help him out. One, he's never won a ring in his career. He desperately needs that. He's probably one of the best players of all time, alongside Carmelo Anthony, as players who have never won a ring. And so I think joining the Los Angeles Lakers would actually really be a smart move for him, but maybe also for the team. The Los Angeles Lakers don't have a outstanding point guard role. They have, unless LeBron's planning to start, which their coach has now refuted that they don't plan on doing it, even though it was reported. They have who? Quinn Cook gonna be the starting point guard for that team. And while I'm not saying he's a bad piece, he's a good shooter, I don't know that he can be that starting point guard on that team. And Chris Paul, while he's not what he was in New Orleans or in LA even, he can still be a valuable piece. He's great at distributing the ball. He can actually get those players open. Him and LeBron are both some of the best passers in the league, and I think they would bring great ball movement to the Lakers. Two, he is not actually bad defensively. He can play. Again, he has lost a small step. He's not as quick as he once was, but he can still really guard some of those big guards in the league, some of those harder to guard scoring guards, and especially in the Western Conference, there's a lot of them. And so you need that guard that can lock up. And they have questions already. Who's going to start guarding point guards? When they thought it was LeBron, it was LeBron can't guard Curry. LeBron can't guard these guys. Like, who's going to do it? And while they can maybe put Avery Bradley on... And while they can maybe put Avery Bradley or Danny Green on that point guard, then who's guarding your wings, So I think bringing in a defensive guard who can actually be a floor general, who can help bring up pace, and can also actually lead that team when LeBron's off the floor, can actually also get offense run, get the ball to Anthony Davis if LeBron's not playing. I think it would be really smart if the Lakers could pick him up, and it would be a great move on both sides. So now I want to get into the Houston Rockets side, which is the slightly more interesting side. I actually think the Houston Rockets did the dumbest thing that they could possibly do, which was bring in Russell Westbrook. And I'm going to blame this fully on Daryl Morey, who is obsessed with bringing in big names. And we've seen it in the past. He brings in Dwight Howard. Where was there really a fit there? It wasn't. He brings in Carmelo Anthony. Not really a fit. What was he doing? Now he brings in Russell Westbrook, and we're just wondering, what are you actually doing as you're leading this team? You're just bringing in names. It's like someone playing fantasy basketball, but this isn't fantasy basketball. This is the NBA, and we need to actually be taking this job seriously and trying to see what team fits, because the best fit and the smartest option isn't always just a giant collection of talent. It doesn't mean that they're going to play well together. It doesn't mean that they're going to win. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that, you're going to sell tickets, and if that's what you're going for, fine. But if you're trying to be competitive, which you need to do if you have James Harden in the heart of his prime, you have these players who were in a position to win, you need to be competitive, especially when with the league is so much more balanced now that Golden State is a little bit less than they were. You need to be competitive, and I feel like this move was not smart, because the Houston Rockets, keep this in mind, the Houston Rockets really only lost to one team. There was one team that could beat them this entire time, and it was the Golden State Warriors. That Golden State Warriors team is not here anymore. I don't understand why you didn't just run it back. You could have been in the finals this next year. That Golden State Warriors team is not as strong as they were. They don't have Kevin Durant. Clay is injured. You could have beat them. And while people might say, they're not even as strong as the Lakers now or the Clippers now, you have a chance. I feel like you ruined your chances by ruining that chemistry, taking out Chris Paul and bringing in Westbrook. And I know there was some problems between James Harden and Chris Paul, but work it out. I feel like nowadays, as soon as there's a problem, as soon as the smallest thing happens in the locker room, we have to ship players out. You don't have to. You don't have to get rid of players just because they have a fight. This is the real world. You can work things out. Be a grown-up. Let's sit down. Let's talk about this. Let's figure out how we can win. We have a common goal, and that can bring us together to win a ring. So we don't need to ship you to Oklahoma City. We can just figure this out with you and James Harden. Sit down, shake hands, play together. I'm not asking you guys to hang out all the time off court. I'm just asking you guys to be good players that work together on the court, okay? So I think the Houston Rockets made a mistake by bringing in Russell Westbrook. Let's talk about that fit. That fit with Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Clint Capella, and those guys. Now, the biggest reason that this was a stupid trade was because Russell Westbrook and James Harden in the last few years have led the league, number one, number two, in usage rate. That means they both have the ball in their hands so much. I believe they add up to almost 80% of the time the ball's in their hand. It's a staggering amount. It's like an NBA high in all of history, and it's crazy to me that they thought that would work. How is anyone else on that team going to get the ball? Except at the very last second when Russell Westbrook is driving and he realizes that he actually has some good defenders on him and he has to pass out just barely to PJ Tucker. And then PJ Tucker gets one shot a game. It's not going to work because they don't pass actually the way that teams are supposed to. They don't have great ball movement like we've seen from the Warriors the last few years, who actually they don't look for the assist. They look to move the ball. That's what the Rockets need, is ball movement. But in this Mike D'Antoni system where he just wants guards that can score, who can drive and score and slash and dribble, and it's not going to work with the two most ball-dominant players in the NBA on the same team. Now, do they have a relationship that might help that to work a little bit better? Yeah. Do I think that they're going to work through a lot of their problems better because they are friends? Yes. But at a certain point, just working through it and trying hard enough it's not just going to fix all these things. One point that a lot of people have brought up is that they played together before in Oklahoma City. Doesn't matter at all. At all. Russell Westbrook was years younger. James Harden was years younger. That was before James Harden was one of the best players in the league. He was coming off the bench as a sixth man. How could he have said, "No, Russell Westbrook, this is my team"? James Harden is now an MVP. James Harden is now in the same breath with scoring in Michael Jordan. The only kind of people that have put up the numbers that he's put up, averaging 35 points a game. Who's done that? You don't think that's going to take a hit when Westbrook comes in? Of course it is. Players are not just so willing to give things up. Really mature players, sure. But players are not just super willing. Yeah, I'll cut my, 30 shots a night up to 15 to 20. No, they want their shots. Westbrook wants his shots. Harden wants his shots. The best thing this team can do is move the ball. Who's great at moving the ball? Chris Paul. Y'all had an opportunity with the Warriors going down, and I feel like you needed to jump at that. You needed to really go at this next season. Get in shape, do everything you can. Work out, practice a lot with your team. Get in great shape to beat not only the Golden State Warriors this year, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Nuggets, the Jazz, any team that you think is going to be good. You had a chance this year to do it. Anyway, the NBA is going to be super interesting next year. I'm really looking forward to watching it. And even though I don't think this is going to work at all, I will be watching Rockets game just to watch it. And I'm sure a lot of you guys will be too.